Right. Okay. All right, then, meeting comes to order for the planning board subcommittee working on LD 2003. Proposed mandated, updates to our town ordinances regarding allowing additional density for affordable housing developments in certain areas, multiple dwelling units and lots designated for housing, and one accessory dwelling unit in any area when housing is permitted. So we're going to call the meeting to order, and we have a quorum. So I do have an agenda here, but I'd like to move the groundwater committee recommendations for ordinances to our first discussion, since we haven't discussed them.
Oh, okay.
It's just.
It looks like Roger's on Zoom.
Oh, Roger. Oh, hi, Roger. All right, and Amber Tooley. Thank you. So starting off with, why don't we start off with a shorter ordinance? It's a groundwater committee is focused on groundwater protection. And so they had made suggestions on withdrawals of groundwater from island aquifers for swimming pools and fire suppression system cisterns should be restricted, and that any large quantities of withdrawals be required to come from off-island sources. So our swimming pool proposed ordinance is that all in-ground and above-ground pools must meet setback requirements of 125/32C1. Drainage requirements, input from CEO needed, which we don't have, and obtain water from off-island sources for filling and refilling the pool.
What? I asked someone who caretakes a pool, what happens to the water?
Oh.
And it just goes in the ground or in the ocean.
Okay. Okay.
But he said most of them are salt now, not chlorine.
Yeah, I wonder. You're killing the grass. Pools that are put up and taken down on a seasonal basis should meet the building setbacks if possible. A permit is required from the CEO. So that's an interesting question about salt water. Does anybody else have any thoughts, questions about swimming pools and requiring them to be filled from off-island sources? I looked at trucking firms that handle swimming pools. I think generally handle about 8,500 gallons. So it would take multiple truckloads to fill a swimming pool.
Although they only fill them once.
Yeah, they only fill them once, and then to refill them,
Right.
they might need to also have a truckload. I don't think they drain them much in the winter.
Bring them down a couple feet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there's no comments. We'll just check with Dave Dyer about the drainage requirements.
He's sitting out there. He was sitting out there. You want to see?
He had no problems with what we had proposed, so of course I forgot I had that comment in there, so I will check into that.
And he'll be at the next one.
Yeah. So, do you know who Telephone is?
That's another Roger.
Oh,
I
it's
think Roger's trying to connect it on a couple different
Okay,
devices.
Roger. All right, so the second ordinance related to groundwater protection is fire suppression cisterns, in which we're going to require all fire suppression cisterns shall meet the setbacks of 15 feet, which is 125.32.C1, and are required to obtain water from off-island sources, so similar to the swimming pools. And some of those systems, and we understand, at least in a couple instances, insurance companies have required even existing homes to have, when it's had new ownership, to put in a cistern up to 30,000 gallons. So, they could potentially impact adjacent homeowners. So any comments on groundwater protection updates, ordinances proposed? All right then, Roger, Burke, any thoughts? Two phones going? All right. Oh dear, do I have to read this whole thing? Our second ordinance update for groundwater protection is for geothermal heating systems, which is the purpose of this ordinance is to promote the use and construction of geothermal heating systems within the municipality while protecting the municipality's water systems, resources. And we have a number of definitions here related to it. But one is that open loop system shall be prohibited. And a open loop system is a geothermal heat pump system which relies on the circulation of groundwater from a supply well, spring, or surface water. The source for heat, groundwater, is moved from the ground to a heat pump. Water is then transferred to a discharge area, typically a surface water body, storm or sanitary sewer system or recharge well. So we would prohibit open loop systems and instead allow both horizontal and vertical closed loop systems. Horizontal and vertical. Are closed loop systems where the loops of the pipe are laid either horizontally or vertically in the ground in trenches or well borings. And what we're proposing that any geothermal fluid that is used is food grade or USP grade propylene glycol. Do you see any other important items? So then we do say in the next part, only potable water, food grade or USP grade propylene glycol shall be used as a geothermal fluid. No other materials or additives may be used. A permanent sign must be attached to the heat pump specifying that only approved heat transfer fluids may be used. And then no geothermal heating system constructed or altered after the effective date of this ordinance shall be operated or altered in such a manner as to cause geothermal fluids or thermal groundwater to be discharged onto the surface of the ground or into any public drainage facility. And all abandoned wells must be filled and sealed by a, yeah, we have a reference of the source here. Licensed water well driller, according to would assume main water well abandonment procedures. A copy of the water well abandonment form shall be submitted to the municipality within 30 days of abandonment. And finally, wells must be grouted. So, does anybody have any experience or comments about geothermal heating systems? And there's Ann. All right then, Roger, what about you?
Still trying to connect that.
I don't know.
He might be having technical difficulties.
Well, you can always throw in your comments, Roger, at the planning board workshop on December 18th for everybody else interested. All right, so that's it of this group. Any comments? Wendy, Isabel, Rick, Carrie? All right, really exciting. All right, so now what we want to do is just quickly, we've already discussed a lot about these proposed mandated amendments to the Islesboro land ordinances based on LD 2003. If the town does not vote to go with these mandated changes, the state will step in and oversee those parts of our ordinance. So first of all, we are proposing in this town centers district that notwithstanding in this code to the contrary, residential lots within an affordable housing development as defined in this chapter and subject to the performance standards contained in section 125-61 shall have a minimum lot size of 8,000 square feet per dwelling unit. Well, I don't know how that changes. It doesn't seem just, I think it was 20,000. Yeah.
It's a function of the math of where you get the increase in density because you're an affordable housing initiative in a town center.
2.5.
Yeah, times, so that's where it goes from 20,000 to 8,000 because you get 2.5 times the density in a town center in an affordable housing.
Okay, so that's only if they, I should say, see, there is a section where they talk about, I finally found it, reference that. The section somewhere, all right, another.
If you look at, this, I think we established, I might have an old 2003, if you look under, it says 30A MRSA 4364.
Yeah,
It says right there, the number of units allowed will be 2.5 times the number allowed for development not designated affordable.
right, yeah, and,
It's in here somewhere.
it is in here where we say this can only have the 2.5 is only appropriate, can only be used if it meets the criteria of affordable housing.
Here, look at this, look at that section right there.
Oh, I know, it's in
Right
there,
here.
but we had to change our
No.
ordinance. But, page 2.
Page 2, 125-61. 1, A1.
Okay. For the, they have to verify if they meet the criteria for eligibility density bonus, which is the 8,000 square feet. So maybe we'll say C, section 125-61. Oh, container ones. It even says in that section 120. Okay. All right, another thing we wanted to clarify was that except for lots located in town centers districts, each lot must provide 1.5 acres for each dwelling unit proposed to be constructed thereon.
Oh, where are we now? I'm sorry.
It's on the first page under 125-33.
Yeah, I'm confused about how that fits in with the book.
Did you, so you've gone to 125-33?
Yeah.
This is what they did, so this isn't me.
Well, replace with line of, okay, so this L is should be,
It's under,
A1.
it's under minimum lot size, yes.
yeah. It
And I
should
had
be A.
suggested moving it up to the top of our minimum lot size. So it's just clarifying minimum lot sizes in all districts. But folks, please note that affordable housing to meet this increased density requirement must occur within a town center. And, at this point, we have two town centers, one at the post office and one down at Dark Harbor.
Can I have a question?
Mhm.
Where will we, if you're willing, where will we move those 3 lots that are now 1 lot into the town center? Where?
That's a question we have on the update for the town center maps.
Okay,
And I thought we could present it to the planning,
Planning board.
select board, saying that there was an error in the original design, write-up of the town center district maps that have the lines following resource protection zones rather than property lines. And that, the IAP has requested to include what had originally been proposed for the town centers. But the IAP at that time didn't see the need.
well, no, IAP didn't own that property when that
they
went
didn't
down.
own
We-
Just,
I asked-
just that one lot, not
Yeah.
the whole,
Right.
the whole.
No, I asked that the Ruthie James subdivision be excluded because of the
Oh.
non-conforming lots and all the stuff we talked about the wells and the septics and all that, just was too confusing to me. But this is a separate thing, which is that what is now just 1 lot 9A was never included in town center, and I would like to see that it is, so we
Right.
could have more opportunity in the future to build houses.
So that'll be presented to the select board and say, what do you think?
Okay,
Okay, I still have a question about page 1, minimum lot sizes. So. We using your suggestion and getting rid of this?
No.
Why,
Oh, I was just thinking of inserting into that section to emphasize the 1.5 acres, to put it right up in the top.
yeah, but aren't we replacing A with those?
We could, yeah, and just say each lot that is not an accepted lot, blah, 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 blah. Or after.
Yeah, just replace it.
Yeah, somehow. All right, we'll try to reword. All right, good point. Combine and reword. Thank you.
And get rid of.
All right, no need to. Yeah, okay. Well, we may still have to throw some of that language in there. I don't know.
I know where you are, but I'm lost. So what do you?
She's saying, what, see, I wanted to include this up at the top. The attorney just put it in at the end at L.
All we need to do is take this, have it say each lot. This is not an accepted lot as provided by this chapter, blah, 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 in all these districts.
You could just combine it.
Shall not have less than 65,340 or 1.5 acres per dwelling unit.
All right, we'll work on it. We'll keep it between the two, you and I. Folks, we're just trying to clarify that a dwelling unit outside of the town centers is required to have a minimum of 1.5 acres, which is already in the ordinance, but it's not specifically stated that it's a dwelling unit.
Okay,
Yeah,
and so we're proposing adding an L here.
well, we're
With this.
actually going to combine it. We're gonna modify A and include this language into A,
LA.
into 125-33A.
And then there will be no L.
Yeah,
Right
it would
here.
be- Yeah,
Okay,
just reword it. Yeah, if you wanna look at this section,
okay, got it.
just it's under minimum lot sizes in all districts, section 125-33A. We're just wanting to clarify that 1.5 acres for each dwelling unit. All right, and so I'm gonna have to. I kept adding little language here, and then under section 125-61. Is that a whole new section? Is a whole new section of the ordinance regarding affordable housing developments, in which we'll be including affordable housing. And we're, including in there that you have to meet certain criteria to have increased, density of up to 2.5. If you meet certain criteria, but it all must occur in the town centers.
My bad. Okay.
But we have a 125
They'll have to
already.
be. Gonna have to modify it. It'll
Okay,
have to
so then the word uses and definition section would just come after, would be 125-62.
be- Yeah.
Okay,
Actually 63 or 64 after we get the swimming pools.
Oh, right.
And the geothermal in
Okay.
there.
yep.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Good point. Well, I didn't know if they would all go under, oh, we don't have one for groundwater protection, water quality. I think that's it, isn't it? Under full section.
Oh.
So I don't know if we can add the,
Okay. I would think we could put it in here.
yeah, yeah, so maybe when, it would be 52. And Rick has pointed out under affordable housing developments, the way the state currently is stating it is that it's limited to households at or below 80% of area median income at the time of initial occupancy in the area of rental housing. And he's saying that the Maine Housing Authority allows 120% of area median income for rental housing.
For
Hmm?
for currently 2 of our houses and in future up to 4 of our houses.
Is that just an island thing?
This is,
Yes,
it's an agreement that all the islands who apply for this funding
So it
are,
is just
it's-
an island.
right.
Island.
yeah.
Okay.
but I mean,
Oh, okay.
somehow we have to reconcile what Maine Housing is saying and what the state of Maine is saying.
Yeah. So I'll have to find out if we can do that.
So
All right.
we need to run that by the attorney.
Yeah, yep. And then we just have criteria in here that for affordable housing developments connected to adequate water and wastewater facilities and proof of adequacy. And I suggested that we provide more detail that was cited in the proposed state rules. And we'll see if attorneys think that's necessary or not. It's just I felt that for the planning board, it's easier, instead of going back to the original rules, that if we have it right there in the ordinance, we don't have to,
Instead of going to the state.
go
So
say
what are we
ordinance.
looking at right now?
Page 3,
Page 3.
yeah, under here, unfortunately, I didn't do it in color. So I have listed, that it's just, that it has to be show that it's in, if it's connected to public special district, the sewer systems, proof of adequate service. If it's connected to a septic system, proof of adequate sewage disposal. If unit is connected to public special district or centrally managed water system, proof of adequate service. And housing unit is connected to a well, proof of access to potable water.
So this is all already mandated by LD 2003.
Correct.
This is all in that language already.
This is the
So-
language.
So this is mandated.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. All right, then, we were updating word uses and definitions, which will become a new section 125-63. Well, we're thinking how they may end up going under a different ordinance section. Under water quality, which is section 125. 58.
For word usage and definition.
No, swimming pools and.
Oh, right.
So,
But the definitions would go under definition.
Yeah, and probably become 64.
maybe, yeah, I'm not gonna worry about that now.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
And so the first definition addition is affordable housing development. A housing development where 51% of units therein are affordable housing units as defined in this chapter. And additional one is affordable housing unit, a dwelling unit that will, through the recording and enforcement of restrictive covenant, be affordable to a household, making it no more than hopefully 120%.
Read the first sentence of that again. Cause it says 51% of the development, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, we just changed it from majority to 51%.
stick with me here.
Uh-huh.
So that doesn't say that 100% of the affordable housing initiative has to be 80% or less. It says 51% must be. So then we could have some, as long as it wasn't over 49% that were 120.
Mm-hmm.
Are you with me on that?
Yeah.
No, Isabel says no, you said yes.
No?
I don't know.
Why do you say no?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
It says,
Yeah, yeah.
it says by definition, an affordable housing, an entity is someone who has at least 51% of their units that are available to people who make 80% AMI. Isn't that what that said?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, so that means 49%
Could be
could be anything, which
sell
could be
the
120% of AMI, right?
Yes.
Which is allowed by main housing. I mean, there's a whole nother guiding document that we in this business have to use that I haven't brought up because it's long as your arm and even worse, but it talks about there are some units could even be market rate units, up to, I think it's 20 or 25%. To help support those that are affordable.
That's what I thought this meant.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that maybe that's where the lawyer is going to go, to say that you can do 120 AMI on 4 of the then, well, see, we would be 4 of our 8 rental units, which is 50%. So,
Yeah, evens out the cost. Okay.
but we would be in violation by 1% because we would have, or if we rented them to people in excess of 80, which we haven't. You see where I'm going with that? When we build these 2 new houses, we'll have 8. And then 4 of them, under main housing law rules, would allow up to 120. But according to that, we're over by 1% because we would have 50 instead of 49, so. I don't know.
I don't know if you can look at that and see. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was thinking of apartments rather than houses.
Yeah,
So,
well, if we ever get a chance to talk to the lawyer, I mean, there's a whole nother bunch of stuff that's really even more confusing about what I call safe harbor laws, where it tells you how many percent of these units have to be 50, 80, 120 market rate. There's a whole nother thing like that out there.
Does an IAP have a lawyer?
We do. I don't know that, what are you asking me to ask him?
Well. If stuff comes up that's not related to this, you would go to him, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying that there are issues with reconciling LD 2003 with main housing, and then under organizations like ours, which are 501c3, we're guided by state harbor, what they call safe harbor laws as well. And then that is a whole nother group of things which tell you what percentage of your homes can be rented and what percentage of people making how much money of it. You know, it's never been an issue with IAP because we generally are not dealing with people above anywhere near 80 AMI in most of the cases. But if we start laying down hard numbers, I would like to have a chance to talk to the lawyer about the LD 2003, main housing island initiative, and state harbor laws. I mean, somehow those things all ought to make sense to me, and they're not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember where it came up in here. In the eligibility.
Have you considered calling those, the 2 people that, have been available for questions regarding LD 2003, regarding this
Right.
80% versus 120?
Maybe I could do that. I've forgotten their names, but I've got it written down somewhere, I would think.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Start there.
Yeah, because they may have already discussed this and the state has,
Resolved it.
yeah. Do we have their contact information handy? Oh, Carrie, do you have their contact information? The 2 people that,
Well, they're actually having the direct office. Well, let me see if I can find it.
What 2 people? I'm sorry. Yeah, we have, yeah.
Let's see, they just sent out something about meetings. What is it, DETD?
Let's see.
They've got videos online with two. Here they are, right? Well,
That'll be 2003.
They're doing it as of November 21st. In-person office hours. If you want that, it might have.
well, I've got their email address, but I don't have their phone number that I see here.
So Carrie, do you remember the gentleman and the woman that were helping with questions at the beginning regarding
sure that if I
2003, I mean, LD 2003?
I'm sure that if I go to DECD, I'll find
They
it.
were,
Oh, it's Ben and I just
Yeah.
sent it to him.
well, Ben's our lawyer.
Yeah,
Oh, that's not Ben then.
and Hillary. Yeah.
Hillary.
Yeah, I just sent them, they have info, but they were really out of the way for us. New Vineyard, Mexico, Guilford and Skowhegan and Jimsport. But you probably could call them.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I mean, all I gotta do is Google their program, they'll be.
Hillary Gov. And Benjamin Averill, is that our attorney or is that?
Oh, no, our attorney has done the call.
Okay, I have their email addresses. Do you want them or do you have those?
Yeah, it's too bad their last Zoom was November 28th.
Yeah.
But I think you
This is
should probably
Hillary's
call.
email address.
I think I have her in my phone. Let me see if she's in line. I probably put them in there a million years ago when I was talking to her.
And for the purposes of it, that
Yeah, you probably did.
majority means more than half of proportions is being.
Paper him.
Lie. Oh, well, all right,
This thing boots up. And then
so
I'll just write.
shall we move on from DBCD? So folks, you can see this is sort of a quagmire that we're dealing with here. A lot of just having the attorneys check at what we've got and clarifying things, but the object is to make it straightforward for the planning board, if that's possible, when something comes up before it. So I'd like to now go on to the proposed changes to accessory dwelling units for the town. And that's section 125-35 of the ordinance, land use ordinance. And we have inclusion in there, a change of definitions for the avoidance of doubt. A tiny home, as defined in this chapter, may be permitted as an ADU, provided the tiny home meets all other performance standards and requirements of all applicable codes, regulations, and ordinances. And we do define a tiny home somewhere in here. And finally, the big item is at least one accessory dwelling unit must be allowed on any lot where a single family dwelling unit is the principal structure.
Do we need at least in there?
Yeah, I think so. It has, oh, at least one?
Can't have more than one ADU.
Right.
Yeah. What page are we on right now?
Five.
I think I took that right out of their language, but I don't know. We can ask them, do we have to say least?
I don't think we want to say at least. Because you can only have one.
Yeah, good point. All right, maybe that was an error on my part. I'll check. And the other question is that, we have been trying to define an ADU, under A of 125-35.1. An ADU has all the basic facilities needed for day-to-day living, independent of the primary residence, including kitchen, sleeping area, what we propose, or I propose, kitchen, sleeping area, and bathroom. And then having a definition which for kitchen, which we have yet to resolve. So we can continue with that discussion. Now, do you want to jump ahead to that, or
Where, oh,
what? Page 5,
I found it.
so A. Number 35.1 definitions, 1A.
Okay, no.
Well, and then we had, how do we define kitchen? I went wild and you picked up one from somewhere else. And came up with a kitchen means an area within a structure that is used or designed to be used for the preparation of cooking of food. And that contains cooking appliances, including but not limited to ovens, convection ovens, stoves, stovetops, built-in grills, or microwave ovens or similar appliances. 240-volt electrical outlets, or any gas lines. So that's or,
Yes, could be one of those.
yeah, one of those. So that's a kitchen. So
Did
it's
you
an
get
area
it
where
from somewhere else?
another town, another city. So we can see what the planning board and the select board and the attorneys all say. If that's too defined. What do you think?
I like that the or.
Okay.
I worry about creating too many obstacles to housing and creating too many requirements for something to be considered a kitchen. So I think a microwave, in my mind, satisfies. And that's an easy thing. I mean, you can get a used one almost anywhere.
Mhm. Okay, well, we'll sit with that and see what the other members feel. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right,
And I think a lot of it will come down to, code enforcement. I mean, you can see when you go on a site review. Like that one house, the woman was living in a little tiny place while she was building the house. And then she was told by the code enforcement officer that once she moved into the house, she had to either remove the kitchen or the bed from the little house
right. But now she'll be able to keep it,
if she wants an ADU.
yeah. Any comments from the public? Roger, Rachel, Ann? All right, then, we will move on to the next section of the ADU ordinance, which is where is it? It's section 125.35.3 standards and criteria. Item B. It said, we're saying at least one accessory dwelling unit must be allowed in any lot where a single family dwelling unit is the principal structure.
At least. Didn't we want-
Yeah,
Is that a state language? Is that where that came from?
that's when I crossed this out.
You know,
It's
I mean,
in here twice.
I'll bet you it's LD 2000 language. State LD 2000 language. And
I think it's one in general.
so what that leads me to believe is a town could choose to be more permissive and have more than one ADU.
I mean, it's.
But we only allow one in
One accessory dwelling.
Which
unit.
I have a question about, actually, as a member of the public. So what if somebody has 10 acres, they can only have one ADU?
They can have at least one ADU and then the 3.5.
10 acres could
Then they
have,
have, yeah,
say, 4 houses, and each house could have an ADU.
Oh, I see. But each principal structure can have only one ADU.
Yes.
Okay.
so that's a good question. Should it be leased or not?
Well, the way I'm reading this is, it's at least one, right? And so
Yeah.
this is where a town could choose to be more permissive.
The law that I'm holding, again, I don't know if it's the most recent one. It says this section essentially allows any lot with a single family dwelling in an area where housing is permitted to have one accessory dwelling unit as well. Doesn't say more than one, it says one.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right, so why does this say at least one?
Well,
The attorney would have gotten this from you.
I think this is one I put in there.
Yeah, this is you, Jennifer.
Yeah, and I don't know
Okay.
where I picked it up from.
So we should
Um,
just scratch out at least,
And, it's in here twice.
Well,
Yeah.
first is definitions, so I don't know if it should be, it's under B.
Yeah. It's
So-
under,
It's under 125.35.30. ADU shall meet the following standards and criteria. I think it's just reiterating it, but if you don't like to reiterate things.
I don't, if it's in there, it's in there, I feel.
So. All right, so B, this is, where is this changing?
And I think it should be under standards and criteria.
So under B, we. I think they crossed out B in order. Well, B1, I think could stay. So number 2 is deleted because these minimum lot sizes no longer apply.
you know, and I'm looking at the town definitions for ADU, it doesn't say that only one is allowed.
Only one is allowed.
But it is,
Estimate the
somewhere-
1.5 acres
we're talking about ADU.
in the town ordinance. It needs, it's a dwelling unit. Currently, it requires 1.5 acres for the ADU and the principal structure. So you need a 3-acre lot to add an ADU currently.
Okay,
So we're changing it so smaller lots can have ADUs now.
mm-hmm.
That was already changed.
What do
The
you-
town has an ADU ordinance.
Correct, and we're looking at it and we're deleting number 2, which has these minimum lot size and frontage requirements. So, I don't know on the frontage, I think we just meet the same standards. I don't know, we're gonna find this for Bill and Gil. This is a disaster.
So we're taking
That
this
section,
is out.
B2 is out. And then we're gonna keep, the maximum size of an ADU shall not exceed 800 square feet. And it says an accessory, this is some language I have found, an accessory dwelling unit is exempted from any density requirements or lot area requirements related to the area in which the accessory dwelling unit is constructed. And for an accessory dwelling unit located within the same structure as a single family dwelling unit or attached to a single family dwelling unit, the dimensional requirements and setback requirements must be the same as the dimensional requirements and setback requirements of the single family dwelling unit. What do they mean by dimensional requirements?
Dimensional setback.
Yeah,
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think it's just they're trying to show that you have to meet the setbacks from the property lines.
I think we could just say that. Any accessory dwelling unit needs to meet all setbacks.
Yeah,
Simple.
yeah, so maybe get rid of dimensional requirements, I don't know what dimensional requirements are.
I don't think we need, no, could we have the 800 square feet?
Yeah, that's another thing that is mandated is that ADUs must be at least 190 square feet in total floor area and may not exceed 800 square feet in total floor area. This changes our ordinance, which stated only the maximum size of an ADU shall not exceed 800 square feet.
I think it's stupid, but, it's mandated.
In terms of too small or too big.
I think it should be, there shouldn't be a minimum.
I agree.
But the minimum is mandated, is that what you're saying?
Mandated, I can't remember.
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yeah.
All right.
It's in LD 2003 language from the state,
Yeah.
yet
So that's mandated.
it,
It
this
says, and
not-
I quote, ADUs must be at least 190 square feet in size. Municipalities may set a maximum size, but it doesn't set a maximum here, at least in the one I have, but it does set a minimum in 2003.
Okay. Thank you.
calling Hillary again?
Yeah,
Or
All right,
emailing?
so any
Because I know that
comments
this
from
was
the
up for
public
discussion.
on that, Rachel?
The minimum.
Since you have a,
And I know
Tiny
that,
house.
there were individuals that were looking to reduce that number,
Well,
so
where-
maybe that's already happened.
where I get lost.
So just a quick, we're getting rid
That's
of this.
restricted.
we're getting rid of dimensional requirements.
That's restricted.
We don't quite understand where we're going, but we're getting
Yeah,
rid of this.
Exactly, can we be more permissive in this case, but I think this is
Could have
already,
one.
this may already have been resolved, and this may be a
We
lower
had
number
AD,
already.
so maybe it's B2.
But
B1, B1,
Yeah,
and
I'll
B2.
Yeah.
Which is one and
But you're gonna
two
call them
want to
anyway,
say
otherwise, you know what, I can email.
Jennifer,
setback.
what would a dimensional requirement be? Like the height of the building, the size of
think
the
it
lot
meets-
coverage?
Yeah, it meets the
Why don't I work?
current height, so it could be up to 34, 34, 32, 34. Yeah.
Does dimensional requirement also include like the maximum percentage of lot coverage?
Yes, it
That's
would.
what it is, yes.
And,
Oh,
setbacks from the road and from the lot line.
oh, yeah.
So maybe it needs to stay.
Stay, I'll keep it stay and just ask them. Just confirm what dimensional.
Was it the lawyer that proposed that paragraph?
I think I took it out of the ordinance. I certainly did not make it up.
Okay.
You took it
Yeah.
out of here?
Out of LD 2003. Out of the,
Oh, okay.
out of the rules. I'm afraid I did not find, I should source where I found these things. I'll try to do that. All right.
Could just quote, I don't know where it is now. All criteria, 125-32 and 33.
So maybe cite those instead. All right, why don't we look at that? All right, so then the next additional changes is that, item D of our current ordinance, we're proposing to add, the same language about, in prior to issuance of building permit, the proposed, we need written verification that the ADU is connected to adequate water and wastewater. And if an accessory dwelling unit is connected to a well, proof of access to potable water. And then, the town, they're proposing to get rid of the requirement that the owner is required to occupy either the primary residence or the ADU as his primary legal residence, which is non-mandated. The LD 2003 does not require that. The town does. But members of the committee felt that it gives more flexibility to landowners to sell their property, because if it's a seasonal resident who buys the property, currently they cannot maintain the ADU as an ADU. And then,
There's only one ADU permitted for residential.
Yeah, I just thought too, yeah.
so you think it was redundant where it was being stuck in before? I always stuck it in,
No, that, we're going back to the at least
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So Carrie, so back to your question, as an Islesboro resident. You were asking about, there only one ADU being allowed on each residential lot.
Mhm.
It is actually, in our ordinance, but where were you going with that? Would you, as a resident, like to see more?
Well, I think the question was if you own 10 acres, but you have one primary resident and you have more than one ADU.
Yeah, that was my question.
It wouldn't be considered an ADU, it would be considered a dwelling unit.
Yeah. And those can be bigger than 800.
Which then means
But
you
you
put an
can't.
ADU up.
But you can build
Yeah.
more than one or two
Well, you could build 6
dwelling.
dwelling units and then you could have
If you have
6
ten.
ADUs.
It's ADUs.
Yeah, that's good,
Right.
because that creates more housing.
So
I don't
now-
have 10 acres, so that's not.
Yeah, no, but it was a good question.
So then another item we're planning to change is, J. Our current ordinance says 1 off-street parking space shall be provided, or as many spaces deemed necessary by the CEO to accommodate the actual number of vehicles used by occupants of both the primary residence and the ADU. That's being eliminated and substituted with an ADU may not be leased or rented to a tenant for periods of less than 60 days, and that's not mandated. And then we address parking below which under K, which our ordinance stated there should be no on-street parking associated with the ADU. And now we're changing it to ADUs are subject to the same setback requirements as the principal structure. And then I added for an accessory dwelling unit permitted in an existing accessory building or secondary building or garage as of July 1st, 2023. The required setback requirements in local ordinance of the existing accessory or secondary building apply.
I don't know if I agree with him. You're saying if someone has a garage 10 feet from a lot line, an existing garage 10 feet from the lot line, they can't have an ADU in it?
That is confusing. That's in the LD 2003.
It is.
Yeah, that's where I did not make this stuff up. So, I don't know why he didn't include it. I mean, we could, you're right. It's confusing.
Yeah.
It seems like, how can you undo what's already exists?
Again, you're like, you more permissive.
Yeah, maybe I should just cross that out. I'll cross that out.
Cross it out, see if he puts it back in.
No, I think that might be me, but me or the attorney. All right. And then we're proposing on L, which is the whole covenant language from our current ordinance. If, under our current ordinance, we're eliminating the whole covenant language. And instead, just saying an ADU must comply with all shoreline zoning requirements imposed by the town of Islesboro and by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection.
That's another unmandated.
Well, no,
Well-
they have to comply by shoreline zoning.
No, but the part we're taking out is.
Oh, right.
Not mandated.
Right, it's not, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and then on, from the town, from the ordinance M, we are eliminating the sole transfer of ownership. Instead, we're substituting with prior to issuance of a building permit, the property owner must submit written verification that the proposed ADU is connected. Oh, there we go again. That's redundant. We've already said that. I'll get rid of that. Yeah, I think we already said that. All right, never mind, never mind. All right, then we have definitions where we had, we've changed, totally changed our accessory dwelling unit definition. Because it's defined currently in the ADU section. So it's different. I guess you can sometimes, currently we have definitions for ADUs in the ordinance for ADUs, which is different. So that's why he eliminated. And then we have the tiny home. I suggested putting in, it said the attorney suggested just defining tiny home as that term is defined in 29A MRS section 10180-C as may be amended. And I just explained a tiny home means a living space permanently constructed on a frame or chassis and designed for use as permanent living quarters that A, complies with American national standards or on plumbing, propane, fire and life safety, and construction and National Fire Protection Association standards, And B, does not exceed 400 square feet in size. C, does not exceed any dimensional allowed for operation on a public way under this title. And D is a vehicle without motive power. Motive is motor.
It's not a motor home.
But it came, I copied it from the
I think that's what it means.
motive. Oh.
Yeah.
Tiny home does not include a trailer, semi-trailer, camp trailer, recreational vehicle, or manufactured housing. And this is all under the definition.
So
We're just defining it in more detail.
so
Otherwise,
I think it's just a general question. The main state regulations, some of our ordinances. I
that's a good question.
question for the lawyer.
Because otherwise, would you say no to tiny homes?
No. But. No, I just want to know the answer to that question.
Okay. Well, something.
Well, and there are some tiny homes that are smaller than 190 square feet.
Yeah, and they
So-
should be able to be an ADU.
Right, and I mean, is there some reason that we have to separate tiny home from ADU?
No, I don't think so.
And I
Well, read the next section that I top copied under regulation of tiny homes under what we're working with, Title 30A 4363. Location of tiny homes. A municipality shall permit a tiny home to be placed or erected on an individual house lot where single-family dwellings are allowed, or as an accessory structure subject to all applicable land use requirements as single-family dwellings or as an accessory structure. So we can ask, is accessory structure mean ADU?
It just seems to me that it confuses everything, having rules for a tiny house versus ADU.
Yeah, I think,
It's just
In my
that,
mind, a tiny house is an ADU.
or a principal dwellings.
Oh,
structure.
yeah,
It
sure.
could be either.
Or it could be, yeah.
I
It
guess
could be,
as
so
long
I
as
guess,
there, do we need this? Yeah. Well, it is
So-
defined in the state, so does it need to be?
Hang on a second, let me run this by you, because if what I heard Jennifer say is that a tiny house could be a primary structure. Okay, an ADU is not a primary structure, so
right,
if you defined a tiny house, you could even say less than 190 square feet, because then if it's over, but if you don't have a tiny house, then you can't have a tiny building on a building lot. I guess you could, because you could put anything on 1.5 acres. I don't,
Yeah, you can build anything you want.
so maybe tiny house shouldn't be in the ADU section,
Well-
it should be just as,
Just
This
a
is-
random,
described elsewhere.
I'm not giving up
in
on this,
ordinance.
but if you,
just a definition.
It's just in definitions.
if you have a tiny house and it's not an ADU, then it's not restricted to 190 to 800. So you could have a separate structure, you could have a primary structure with an ADU, or you could have a primary structure with a tiny house, and that solves your problem, in my view, because then it could be less than 190 square feet.
A primary residence.
I mean, if it's just on a lot by itself, it's just a residence, but
Oh,
if you
yeah.
have a primary resident and you're trying to build a separate structure that has to be either greater than, it has to be either 3 acres, or it has to be something greater than 1.5 acres, and then you can have an ADU, which is 190 to 800. But if you wanted something smaller and you had a definition for a tiny home of under 190 square feet, then you could build it anything you want.
Yeah, I think we need to find out if we can get rid of the 90 minimum.
Well, yeah,
You could get rid of the 190 minimum, then you can get rid of tiny houses in general, because then you can build any size of ADU you want.
A tiny house is just it's become a thing, but it's
Yeah.
just a dwelling unit.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, and what if somebody doesn't want it to be defined as an ADU?
Then it's a principal dwelling unit.
Well, it's either a principal dwelling unit or an ADU or an additional dwelling unit, if there's, if acreage allows.
Or simply an accessory structure, like,
If you can't get around, because it's in LD 2003, if you can't get around the 190 minimum, then I think you probably don't want to get rid of tiny house if you want to build smaller houses of 190.
Well, you can, but it just can't be I guess, that means it can't be an ADU.
We're semantics here,
I know it's.
what I'm just saying is that you could have a primary structure, whatever, the McMansion, it doesn't matter what size that is, but you can build an ADU on any dwelling unit lot. But according to the law right now that I'm aware of, it's 190 to 800.
So you can't have
So you can't have a You know, but if you eliminated the tiny home, then you're stuck with those numbers. You have to be 190 to 800.
Well, we can't say you can have a tiny home as an ADU.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying you have a separate definition because it allows for tiny homes, right? Am I not hearing that
The
right?
state does.
The state allows for tiny homes. So if you
So
wanted
we
to build
can-
something under 190 square feet, you could call it a tiny home.
No.
If you eliminate the definition and category of tiny home, and you can't get rid of the 190 minimum, then you're stuck with that, you know, but whereas you're not following me, are you?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I see, 143.63 is regulation of. tiny
So
homes.
if you've got an acre and a half and, you know, and you want a tiny home to be your primary
You
residence,
can do that.
you can do that.
I agree.
But I think, I just feel it's ridiculous, you can't have one for an ADU.
Exactly, agreed. And actually, I'm gonna write to, I have it here, I'm gonna write to
I,
Ben and Hillary and see if the state has already decided on lowering that 190
Just get rid of them
square
and
foot or footprint minimum.
Do
Okay,
away
if you
with the
could do that,
minimum.
that would be great, yeah,
Yeah,
please
yeah,
do.
I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
I'm
So-
in complete agreement with that. What my point that I'm trying to make is if they stick you with the 190 and you want to allow something smaller, that's the way to get around it. Don't call it an ADU, call it a tiny house.
But you still,
Yes, yes, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
So we can have both. We can have a tiny house and we can have an ADU.
It's a separate category of dwelling unit, tiny house, ADU, primary house. 3 different categories.
Mhm.
as a accessory.
You just wanna
Right,
call
well,
it
if you're just gonna put a tiny house on a 1.5 acre lot, you can build anything you want, right? Okay, so forget that part.
Yep.
Now you've got a primary resident, you wanna build an ADU, but you wanna build it smaller than 190 square feet, and the state of Maine says you can't do that, call it a tiny house.
no,
Why not? It allows for it.
but
Does it define tiny house?
If there's enough acreage.
if there's
Yeah, it
enough, you
seems
have to
like you're
have,
not saying.
You're saying it has to be 3 acres to have a tiny house on
Yeah,
a,
yeah.
yes. Cause
Yeah,
it's,
because it's not an ADU?
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
not an
if it's
ADU,
not an
it's-
ADU, it's a dwelling unit.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a
It's a
dwelling
I get-
unit.
I get
Even
that.
if
I
it's,
see
even
your
if it's
logic.
a tiny
I
house,
see your logic.
so you
I
have
get
to have
that.
enough
Alright,
acreage.
so,
But that does provide other options for people, you're right. If they have enough acreage.
If they have enough acreage.
all right, thank you, everybody. I'll let you figure that one out. So we'll talk to the attorneys or to DCD and ask them, can we lower the number?
Yeah, we
Or can
allowed
we
to,
do-
or have they already eliminated that minimum? That
Or
would be
can
ideal.
we just
Yeah.
define a tiny home as an ADU? Well,
Or-
that
or
would be the
just-
same thing. Yeah.
The same thing, just
Yeah.
ask if we can eliminate the minimum.
Yeah, so that a tiny home can be an ADU.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause I know they were, you know, back when they were having, their meetings that we would zoom into, they were already talking about that. That, you know, potentially getting rid of that or lowering it,
Oh, really?
because tiny homes are made smaller than that.
Yeah,
I have a question about the definition of ADU, and I'm wondering if we can add year-round to that definition of ADU. Because there are some structures that are not built to be, year-round. There are some structures that exist already that are not winterized.
Yeah.
And, and those would not be meant to be ADUs for year-round housing.
ADUs don't,
You're right, we're not saying it's seasonal or year round. I mean, houses now, dwelling units can be built that are either or.
yeah, I would just,
You're saying,
I'm just saying, we might want to add into the definition of an ADU that it's a year-round structure. Because we don't want somebody building just think
It should be year round. Well, we can put it in here and see what people think.
I'm just thinking,
Well, it's
There-
gonna be
there is
90
some-
days, so.
there are some structures that exist already on the island that are not winterized. And those wouldn't be able to be qualified as ADUs because we want them to be year-round housing.
Right.
I don't know that I agree with that.
I'm gonna wait for dinner. I'm gonna let you argue.
All right, so why don't we just say, this is a suggestion.
So, because, again, back to, creating too many roadblocks to housing. So, I don't know how true this is here in this community, but in many,
Oh, you forgot your
Oh,
jacket, Rick.
many,
It's quite easy here.
ocean communities, right? You know, there is an influx of seasonal workers.
Mhm.
And do we have some of that here too? And, you know, we need housing for them. And even if the structure is only meant for, you know, 3 seasons, I mean, you know, that a structure's not insulated would prevent it from being used as an ADU.
You forgot your
I
call.
just realized it's cold.
I don't agree with it, the necessity that it be insulated and, 4-season structure.
Well.
But what do you guys think?
I think the 60-day rental requirement
Yeah.
is strict enough.
Yeah,
Now, where is it?
yeah.
Where did we put it? I can't find it.
The 60-day,
Yeah. It is
it's in
here.
here,
You did see it?
yes.
Oh, good. I didn't mention it to anybody.
Well, the lawyer put it in.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it's in there. The
It is?
60-day thing is in there.
I know of individuals here on the island
Oh, I
that
see. I
have
did miss
people
that.
come over
Yeah.
in the summer
Good, good.
to help out with,
Yeah.
you know, what they do at their property.
Right.
And, you know, those sort of structures are necessary.
Well. Yeah, because we don't require people to stay if they're. That's one bridge too far at this point. I guess we can make comments later if somebody's got a really bad. Or you can bring it up again at the planning board.
And there's probably gonna be lots of, vacant, housing here on the islands that is not, it's seasonal, they're not winterized, but,
But they
you know,
can't be.
but if a
used,
small
yeah.
area of it could, you know, with enough electric heat could make it livable.
I guess we just don't wanna put somebody in a situation where they're renting the facility for the winter and they discover that it's not insulated. But I don't know.
I've certainly rented beach houses that were not insulated, and heating was very expensive in the wintertime, but I lived there, you know.
Yeah, I guess
I'm sure
we
plenty of
can-
people do that.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know if we can. Oh,
I think, you know, with the 60-day rental requirement, I think there's plenty of room to have both. You know, year round, if someone was gonna build something new, it probably would be year round, I would think.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Problems. You'll warn everybody, watch out. Okay, page 9. Oh, that's just, chapter 45. We were adding a sentence under section 4538 lot size. Lot size that, notwithstanding the foregoing, affordable housing developments located in the town centers district shall instead be subject to the density requirements set forth in section 129B1. And have we changed that?
This makes sense.
1B1. Oh, yeah, it's just the lot size. Okay. And parking. Parking currently, all multiple dwelling units shall be provided with 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit, consistent with Article 15 of this chapter. And we're gonna add, except affordable housing developments as defined in 12562, the land use ordinance, which shall be required to provide 2 parking spaces for every 3 dwelling units.
That's in the mandate.
All right, and then finally, we have proposed updates to definitions. And this is our last discussion. First of all, spelling aquaculture properly. It's not aquaculture, it's aqua, water.
Is this definitions in, the DRO?
No, it's in 125.
Okay.
Dwelling unit, we're still struggling with dwelling unit. Our current dwelling unit definition is a room or group of rooms designed and equipped or used as living quarters for only one family. The term shall include guest houses, apartments, and mobile homes, but not recreational vehicles. This is the definition both in 125 and 45. So here are some potential weaknesses. Definition: undefined living quarters. Here are some alternatives. A single structure providing complete independent living facilities for 1 or more persons, including permanent provisions for sleeping, living, sleeping, eating, kitchen, or cooking and sanitation. Or a permanent building or portion thereof, including manufactured or mobile homes designated or used exclusively as a residence, sleeping room or quarters with kitchen facilities, which constitutes an independent housekeeping unit for 1 or more persons. That's ridiculous.
So it's not possible to
I mean, we could just stick with the current dwelling unit definition. We've had such a hard time with it.
Yeah, I mean, mobile homes are not permanent by nature.
Unless
say,
they're,
yeah,
hooked to the septic system.
yeah. That's what we have in our
No,
current.
but I mean, it can,
ordinance.
I see them all the time. I mean, just because they're connected to a septic system doesn't make them permanent.
I think it does. In this instance, we've done one of those already.
Yeah, we don't define it as being permanent in our current ordinance.
I mean, yeah, he can move it whenever he wants, but I guess you could tear your house down too.
No, so when you sell property that happens to have a mobile home on it, that mobile home is considered personal property. Okay, because it's not permanent. So you're essentially, you're selling the land and a piece of personal property. So,
Well, this is a question for attorneys because this is in our current ordinance.
it is,
Correct.
Yes, and we,
okay,
and
Mobile
we,
homes are considered a dwelling unit in our current ordinance.
mobile home, what's the difference between a mobile home and recreational vehicle?
Must be, is motorized, recreational vehicle is motorized.
Is
Yeah.
a trailer a mobile home?
you mean like a single wide?
A house trailer?
You mean like a single wide or a double wide?
Yeah.
That's a,
Yeah, like there are plenty of those on the island that
yeah,
people are living in.
yeah. I'm not saying they can't be considered dwelling units. I'm having a problem with with permanent. But yeah, it's the permanent
Well,
word.
we actually have a.
But if this is, so this isn't anything we're changing. This is already there.
Yeah, we have
okay.
a definition for mobile modular home, so,
All right,
That's
so
all.
let's skip to what we're
All right, let's
adding or
process.
changing.
all right, we're not going to change anything.
Okay,
All right.
states as it is.
Stay as is, all right,
Kitchen looks fine to me.
then we'll have the grilling as to whether or not the other guys will think throw in a couple more items to throw in there, but it's not limited to, so you can come up with lots of different items. Potable, I was just
Or
defining.
similar
potable.
appliances, perfect.
Potable, I was just defining potable means safe for drinking is defined by the US EPA Drinking Water Standards and Health Advisories Table, and means interim drinking water standards for 6 different fluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, resolved 2021, chapter 82, blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
We will have to change that.
What?
6. PFAS, there's about 500 of them.
Oh, really? So should we not even, as amended?
Audible, you said that you're saying that water has to be tested for PFAS is in addition to everything else?
I don't know what the state is requiring.
I would.
Well, we have to look it up, how the state is defining things. Where their rules come in. That's something for a realtor should look into for us. I have no idea.
The lawyer would know it too, should know. it.
Yeah, I know that testing for PFAS is
Difficult.
expensive and lengthy. And it's a lot more complicated than just getting a water test.
You get your water test and you have to have it there within 12 hours or something crazy like.
Oh,
that.
yeah. When I do it, I drive it there myself because I never trust mail.
I had mine
Because it would
tested.
expire.
I had mine tested and it passed
Oh,
because I live near the dump. The state tested it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I think everyone around the dump passed.
wow.
That's terrific news.
Yeah.
But
All right, well, we'll get rid of that, and the question is, do we want to even define potable? So many,
all right, so let's look up what the state considers potable.
yeah,
Okay,
I'll put down Wendy looking upstate.
okay.
And then I just added wetland definitions. I updated the definition of freshwater wetland. to exclude under our definitions A, which is of 10 or more contiguous acres, and instead went to, I just eliminated A, which requires a freshwater wetland to be a minimum of 10 acres or adjacent to surface water body, excluding any stream or brook. And that definition actually was being used for shoreline zoning. And actually, I believe was used in the definition of our resource protection zones.
That what the ones you put in are?
Nope, the B and C or new A and B are already in our ordinance.
The new A and B
Yeah,
are, okay,
yeah. I don't think I added anything.
okay.
I think. I guess this note, I don't know where I think that came from the DEP definition. No wetlands are classed as coastal forested or non-forested, and each class may contain small stream channels or inclusions of land that do not conform to the criteria of this definition. And then I added an additional definition because I'm always forgetting what it means, a hat. And it's not something you wear, it's a highest annual tide. Hat values are a calculation of the lowest or highest predicted tides for a location based on an analysis of tide predictions over a defined time period. And that's all, folks. Travis, you put up with this. Thank you.
We're done?
Yeah.
There'll be another
Yes.
exciting session on December 18th. That was,
Already done?
yeah, we
Okay.
decided part of it was questions for the attorney, which was the, ordinance language for tearing down and disposal of structure. I can't remember if Dave suggested that, whether we should have an ordinance. Oh, it's a different sheet of paper. But whether or not we should have an ordinance about tearing down demolition of buildings. Or
Why?
disposal of materials, I don't know, Dave, I think suggested it.
Because the select board suggested it,
Oh, the select board suggested it?
or part of this, or somebody, Janet maybe.
So you would need a permit to take down a structure?
Not a permit, but I think it has to do with,
Not taking it to the dump?
yeah, requiring builders to have their own dumpster.
We need to talk to Janet because she's working on ordinances herself.
Oh,
So that might be something she's working on, and it's not up to
And
the
so-
planning board.
Yeah.
Although
So-
we have recently added language to our permit cover page that says we are suggesting that for large demolition and building projects, contractors bring their own dumpster.
Or get one on the island, which you can do now, I guess.
okay.
So I think I'd said I'd talk to Janet when I talk to her.
Oh, it's a process, I know, I'm
Process.
sorry.
And I'll ask her what ordinances she is working on. So we're not.
We
being
will bring it to the
redundant.
full planning board. We're having a workshop December 18th. Then at the full planning board meeting, we will vote, I would assume, to bring it forward to the attorney.
To accept what we've done.
Yeah, and well, or do we, before we vote on it as a planning board, do we send it to the attorney? Have them rewrite it or write it up, attorney's,
So we wanna know when,
and then bring it to the planning board and then the select board and then a public hearing. And then a town vote.
Yeah, it seems to me that we might want to run what we're doing by the attorney
then we
to
might
make
have-
sure that language is correct before we go through the trouble of getting the rest of the planning board to approve.
Then we might have to reschedule
Well, I think we can at least talk to them about these current, what we're talking
I think
about.
so too. I mean, it's,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's fine. And then I'll ask Janet about what we need to have for the select board and
yeah,
the public hearing.
yeah, I think at least we have that workshop to get them to hear. It's gonna be a long haul. If we're having a hard time getting through this, to get those two on board too.
Either a long haul or a breeze. I think.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, it's just reading and for us to have, to remember what it is we're talking about, it's having
it's good
the current
practice.
ordinance in front of us, so we can say, all right, get your ordinance out.
It would be really good, and we should do that, maybe we'll do this, before the 18th. Separate the mandated from the non-mandated.
It's generally pretty clear, I think.
Or what if we have one document, right? And then, mandated be in blue and non-mandated be in red, or, just, and,
Color coded. You have to remember to print it out in color.
yeah. Do we have a color printer here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really gonna be important.
All right, color code for the 18th.
And if you need help, Jennifer, let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so technical.
I may have Carrie help me on the call.
Yeah, I can do that. Are we adjourned? Should I stop recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.